Carter. So here we are. Tim Cole, Lebanon Barbell Club, Gym 24/7, Field Training Center. I'm sitting here with one of my athletes, Carter Singh. Um, we leave for Peru on Tuesday in a couple days to go to the World Championships, the Youth World Championships for weightlifting that Carter has qualified for. So a pretty big deal. And all we want to do today is kind of sit down and talk about the whole process that we went through. Um, the process of the prep for Worlds, the process of his entire lifting career, kind of looking forward to this, and just kind of give everybody a little key into exactly what he's went through. So how you feeling?
Feeling good. Yeah, training's been really good, pretty much. So
Been a long time, huh?
been a long time, been a long 20 weeks in prep.
20. So this prep has been 20 plus weeks. We were just trying to figure out how many, but I'm thinking it's around 23. So 23 weeks ago, we started the process of getting him ready, basically for this moment right here. Talk to us a little bit about the training. Tell us a little details about the order that you train in, kind of what your weekly schedule looks like.
Yeah.
And then we can get into the physical and mental aspects of that later.
Yeah, so my training's been pretty much the same, honestly, since I started weightlifting. Monday, Tuesday, clean and jerk, and then I'll have a squat day. I'll have the pull overhead day, or pull and then an overhead day. It's kind of my 5-day week. I train 5 days a week, 2 days off on the weekends. But in this last 20 weeks, the variation has gone down. A lot of just heavy lifting from the ground, a lot of heavy clean and jerks, a lot of heavy snatches. But I feel like it's done its job. I feel ready. I feel like I'm there.
So on Mondays, generally we snatch.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays, generally we clean and jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are some combination of overhead, some jerk work, some snatch work overhead, some pulls and some squats. And then when we're a little bit farther away from our competitions, our Fridays are some type of functional thing, whether it's kettlebells, sled, suspension training, whatever we might do. Kind of that's my time to get you a little more athletic. As we get closer to our competitions, though, we kind of take that away, and it's another fifth lifting day, basically, right? So let's talk about the mental aspects of what you do, because I think that weightlifting is really unique in that if you're a football player, then you go out and do your team practice, you do your skill work, and then you come in and do your strength and conditioning work. Same thing if you're basketball or baseball or whatever. But for you, your skill work is your strength and conditioning work, right? So everything that you do basically is done on this piece of wood right here. There's not, just like you said earlier, there's not a whole lot of variations in what we do. So mentally, how exactly do you handle that, and what are the differences in that and the other sports that you've played? Yeah,
so it is really mentally fatiguing, coming in here every day doing the same thing. And what I've found is I think you have to really enjoy the lifts. Honestly, if I come in here and if I don't have fun, it gets very, very dull. And so in this prep, I don't know, I've just really tried to enjoy having fun with the lifts. Can you cut that? Can we start over on that
start
part?
over, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, he can cut it in it.
Okay, yeah, it'll be okay.
Right? Just start over, just start talking again like where you were. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I gotta think about the question. Kind of lost spot. What was your question?
The mental aspect of training and how it's different than the other sports that you've kind of experienced before.
Yeah. So I think mentally, I come in here and I do the same thing every day, and that it does get hard. It gets really hard. Around competition, it gets more dull, because when farther away from competition, kind of the way it works is your variation is more. So you're doing different. I'm still doing snatch and clean and jerks, but it's maybe from the hang, maybe powers from the floor.
Different pieces of the lift.
Yeah, from blocks or something. Closer I get to competition, that just goes down and down, and it's just snatches, full clean and jerks from the ground every day. And it just gets heavier and heavier. And so kind of how I attack that is I love the snatch and the clean and jerk, honestly. I love weightlifting, and so it makes it easier, but it still gets dull. And I just have to really focus on these training sessions, and I go day by day. I think I have goals coming into the training pretty much every day. What I want to hit, I know what the plan is, and so I kind of look day by day what I want to hit. And if I look at it in too much of a big picture thing, it kind of does get mentally tiring. And so, but if I attack that day by day, it gets a little better.
That's awesome. And I think one of the misconceptions about you, the kind of people that I talk to, because I get a lot of people to ask questions about you, obviously, is you make it look like this comes easy. You make it look like that you just show up every day and you hit big lifts and you go home, and then you show up tomorrow and do the same thing. But that's couldn't be farther from the truth, though, right?
Yeah.
We have some days. We had a day last week where the mental aspect kind of got to us. We had a couple bad lifts, and we made fun of it. We've kind of made jokes about it. But you left. You had a little crash out, and you left, and then you came back a couple hours and finished your session. I think that's unique in other sports in that if you leave football practice because you had a bad day, you're probably not going to be allowed back to football practice later that night. But in this sport, I think what you showed in that moment was the mental aspect absolutely overwhelmed you.
Yeah.
But you were able to take a deep breath, take a step back, and then come back in.
Yeah.
And I think what that shows, and my point on that is that this doesn't come easy to you.
Yeah.
That was an incredibly hard and, in your eyes, an awful day.
Yeah.
But you made the decision, A, to step away, and then B, to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that shows, like I said, that this isn't the easiest thing in the world, and it's definitely not as easy as you make it. So I think that's a big way to, kind of show that, like, this is something that you dive into every single day, right? Like, this is kind of your life right now.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the other sports, you mentioned like football, you can't just leave football practice. It's not, weightlifting is so much dependent on you. And I mean, no one's forcing you to be in here every day. No one's making you come in here. So I think the people that really excel at this sport are people that are really, really driven. They just want to come in. I want to come in here every day. I want to get better every day. But I mean, I have plenty of bad days where things don't go as planned. And you really have to focus those days. You have to accept that it's not going to be the end of the world. Your training is going to prevail at the end, and you're going to come out better.
Kind of along those same lines is I've also had some people who have said things like, it must be awesome to coach someone who's that good, who's naturally that good. And I understand what they're saying because and I talk about it all the time as far as like our first session together and how naturally good you were. But if we look back on the entirety of your weightlifting career up until this point, from that first day where you were able to do things naturally that other kids aren't, but then moving out of that, I think it's hard to see the struggles that you've been through and we've been through together. The one that jumps out in my mind especially is the move from the 13 to the 14 to 15 group. Mm-hmm. So in weightlifting, when you're 13 years and under, you use a 15 kilo bar, also known as a women's bar. It's shorter. It's thinner, so your hands fit around better. And then when you get to the 14-year-old, you move to the men's bar, which is 20 kilo bar. It's a longer bar. The weights are farther away from you, so they move different, they spin different, and the bar itself is thicker, so getting your hands around it. I remember specifically that year, that was a really tough year for you. We had came out of winning that first national championship at 13U, that we kind of didn't really know what we were doing yet. We just knew that, or I definitely knew that, like, this kid's a little bit different. But that next year was hard. Like, you had a lot of like falls and you had a lot of, I don't want to say failures, but it wasn't exactly what maybe it looked like. Mm-hmm. And especially when we moved out of that 14 year, that was tough, going into the 15-year-old year where you were just dominant. I mean, you just dominated the entire country that year. He won a national championship by 35 kilos that year. And up until that point, we were looking at that. That was that year, right? Yeah. We look into that and we're like, this looks so easy for him. And he's just blowing everybody out of the water. And we have this almost perfect year. And then we get to Wilmington.
Yeah.
Right. So Wilmington that year was the American Open Finals. That was our chance to qualify for the World Championships in his 15-year-old year. Mm-hmm. Where it would be he would lift in it when he was 16, but we had to qualify at 15. And we bombed out. Right. We didn't make a single snatch. Got one clean and jerk, which won gold, but didn't really matter. Right. So that was the first time in your weightlifting career, and I'm assuming your sports career, that you really fell flat on your face, right? Yeah. So talk about that for a minute and tell me, just because I know what you went through mentally at that time, because I was going through a little bit of it too, not to the extent you were, but tell us about that and how you felt in that moment, the weeks out of that, and how you turn that into sitting here today
Yeah.
and saying, we did it.
Yeah. So, like you said, coming out of that, in that 15-year-old year, when I had that really dominant year, won the national championship, I actually, that performance qualified me for the Youth Pan American Championships, under 15-year-olds. And so that got canceled, but they ended up doing a national team camp in Columbus, Ohio. And I went to that. And that's kind of the point where I was training around all these world-class athletes, right? And I decided that's what I want to do.
You were playing football.
I was playing football at the time, yeah. And I decided I want to do this weightlifting thing. I think I can hang with these people. I saw them training. I said, I think I can do this. And so I decided.
I think you texted me on Tuesday of that week.
Yeah.
I think you got there on Monday and you texted me on Tuesday and you're like, whatever you said, basically like, I think football's done. I got this.
Yeah. And so after that week, I decided I wasn't going to play football. I was going to fully commit. I knew that Wilmington was my last chance to qualify for the World Championships the next year. And so I decided I want to make a big push for Wilmington. I want to, try to qualify for that and try to make this World Championships team. And so that ended up being, that would have been probably 4 months before that?
Yeah.
Before Wilmington?
Yeah, something like that.
So that ended up being probably the worst 4 months of training I've probably ever had. I let it fully consume me mentally. Every day I woke up, I had the same goal. I was very driven, but I think there was a combination of things. I think I was kind of trying to hold my body down to a weight class it wasn't really meant to be at. And that was hard mentally as well. But training just for whatever reason, it wasn't going well. And I let that whole qualification process totally consume me. I thought about nothing else. I thought about, literally, that was the only goal I had in my mind every single day. And I let weightlifting be the total center of my life and everything I ever thought about. And so obviously, if you have that mindset and it doesn't work out, that's going to kind of bring your world down. And so when I failed to qualify, it destroyed me. Like, I had nothing left. And so those next 2 weeks were some of the hardest weeks of my life, really. I just didn't have any drive in training. You remember that next week when I came back? I mean, I didn't want to be here whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And you said, I think we were talking about the Arnolds, and you wanted to try to make a push. And at that time, I was probably 20 kilos off of the total I would need for Pan Ams.
Yep.
And so I saw no point at all. After the 4 months of training I just had, in my mind, there was no point. I didn't want to push for it. I saw no reason to push for it. But you kind of got my mind on track. I channeled all that, I don't know, I would say the anger I had towards bombing out. I channeled it. I attacked training like I never had before. I did everything right that I could have, and led to that really big push I had for the Arnold.
We had a few hard talks in that room too during that time.
Yeah.
The few times he came in and it just wasn't there. He didn't want to be here. Like, he was still, and we just stepped inside that room and had some hard talks. And like, during that time also, I feel like our relationship changed. So I've coached baseball, I've done strength and conditioning, and I've coached weightlifting. I've been part of sports my whole life. I've been around coaches that had, Coach Blasmeyer had a huge impact on my life. And Coach Dudley too, my high school coaches, in that I seen the way they did things, and that's what I wanted to do. So, but also, this is a different relationship, a different coach-athlete relationship than almost any other sport. The difference is that me and him talk every single morning, right? Sometime before the morning, around noon or in the morning, I'm texting you, how do you feel today? That's me getting a feel for how he feels today and what we actually want to do that day. When you have a team of 20 kids, that's not possible. If Coach Christian's coaching a football team, it is physically impossible for him to check in on every single kid every single day. That's different with me and you. The other thing is, we're getting ready to travel to, hopefully, our third country together this year. Probably 15 cities? I don't even know at this point. So we've spent an inordinate amount of time together. I spend as much time with him as I do my own family. We're going to spend a week together next week in a different country. So this relationship, I think, is deeper and different than any other coach relationship. And I feel like at that time, that Wilmington time, It could have went either way, right? There's a lot of athletes who would have stepped away from me at that point, and there's a lot of coaches that would have stepped away from you at that point. And what I mean by that is I did a terrible job of programming for your prep to finals. I don't think it was you didn't execute as good as you normally do. Mm-hmm. But I did a terrible job. What I did wrong coaching, and I think coaches, if you can hear this and listen to this, something that I learned the hard way in this is I looked at what everyone else was doing. And I tried to look at all these people, all these coaches and all these lifters that I respect. And I tried to, like, okay, what are they doing? Let's do that. That was the worst thing I could have done at that time. Because for somebody who's been with me since you were 12 or 13 years old, I have a certain way I do things. And we completely got out of that. We added a training day that week. Yeah. That's prep. We added a Saturday training day, which for me, in my coaching thoughts and what I think, that goes against everything I believe. I'm a big believer in you add rest, not work. And we decided to add work through that prep, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It just tanked his body, it beat him up. And then to compound on that, I decided to just keep pushing forward with the way that we were doing things. So we learned a lot from each other in that time. And it's a worst possible time to learn those lessons, but it is what it is. And that's what I mean by, I think a lot of athletes, I think you knew my programming wasn't good at that time. I think I knew your execution wasn't good. So in that process, we were both able to admit it. I think I told you that in that room a couple times, like, some of this is my fault. But we gained I feel like we gained a lot of trust and respect for each other in that time, and that we just stuck our nose deeper in, right? We didn't really pull back. So that, when I asked you the question of, this hasn't always been rainbows, that's the moment, or that's the moment in time that I was really talking about. In Wilmington, this is my favorite story ever now. So we're in Wilmington. We're getting ready for our session. This is our big moment. He's put all this work in. We're trying to qualify for the World Championships. The World Championships, right? This is as big as you can get. And he bombs on snatch. So he doesn't make a lift. In weightlifting, you have three chances at snatch, three chances at clean and jerk. If you don't make one of each lift, then you can't total, so you can't win, you can't place, right? The total is what matters. So he bombed on snatch. So in the grand scheme of things, there's no way we can qualify because it doesn't count. At that point, Carter decided to call it quits, right? You took your shoes off. We got 10 minutes in between snatch and clean and jerk session to start our prep and begin warming up for clean and jerk. He took his shoes off and he's ready to leave, right? Mm-hmm. And then he just walks away. I think we had some words there, maybe, and then he walks away. And I remember him go. I remember, like, I stood there for a minute. I let him get away from me, and I'm like, is he going to turn around? And he doesn't turn around. And so I'm like, I got to go get him. So I start following you, and your dad's in the hallway, and I meet your dad before I get to you, and I look at him and say something like, Lee, I'm going to have to go at him pretty hard here. And he's like, go get him. So I caught you. And then we go back to the room, go back to the back room, finally get you back there. And at this time, you're saying there's no point. There's no point in doing this. Yeah. And I distinctly remember, I'm telling you in that moment, the point is that you're going to do it. Like, if you can find it in yourself to go out on that stage and hit a clean and jerk. Yeah. And I told you, I just want one. Just get one and we can leave. Yeah. You put your shoes back on. I stood up and you took your shoes back off. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I got really mad. And I knelt down in front of you and said some choice words. And you were like, I'm not doing this. And so I said in so many words, whatever. And I get up and start to walk away. And then I'll never forget this moment. I hear Tim, and I turn around and look, and you're lacing your shoes back up. And then we hit the most absolutely ridiculous clean and jerk warm up of all time. What did we go?
I think I took 2 or 3 attempts and 50? Went out.
We went like 50 right at the back.
I think I went like 50, 90, and then walked out.
Because we had 50 on, and I was still mad at you because you were still in that moment, and you just didn't want to do it, and they were crappy, and you were rushing through them. And I put 90 on after 50, and I said, F it, there's 90. be mad about that. And then you hit 90 in the warm-up room. We went out. We missed 110, right? We missed a 110 clean and jerk on his first one. He wants to quit again. And on the side of the stage, we're having it out.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and hits 110. We put our shoes on and leave, and he wins the gold medal for clean and jerk. My whole point of telling that whole story is I think that was probably Carter's lowest moment of definitely of your sports life, and probably one of the lowest moments of your life to that point.
Yeah.
You know, because you put so much into it. But you were able to stand up and do one more.
Yeah.
And my whole point in that is if you can find it in yourself to stand up and do one more now, every other one more after this for the rest of your career will be easier than that one. Mm-hmm. And you stood up and did it. And I feel like that's the real moment. That's the real reason that we're sitting here today.
Yeah.
Is that you were able, even though you didn't want to, you didn't see how it benefited you, but you had the respect for me and the trust in me to understand that if Tim's saying this is important, and Tim is on me like this, because I've never really got on you like that before. Mm-hmm. You see me get on other kids in here and stuff, but I've never really had to get on you like that before. Mm-hmm. And you stood up and you faced the moment and you did it. And I think even beyond this moment that we're getting ready to have, that was the biggest moment of your career.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that all coaches and athletes need to actually listen to that story and understand how down he was, and B, understand how important it was for him to do that in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge, and I really, really think that's the reason why we're sitting here today.
I agree.
So that's something I've always commended you on. And that also goes to show coaches and athletes that when you know in your heart that the way you do something is the way that you should be doing it, not necessarily the way someone else should be doing it, but the way that we should be doing it, trust your gut. Like, don't make the mistake that I made of that prep of trying to keep up with everyone else and thinking that everyone else does what you do better than you do it. Because only you do what you do, right? And you can do it better than you do it. And only we do what we do together because we've done it for so long. So the more we stay true to ourselves, I feel like the better we are.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on from that a little bit, if we look back at kind of the arc of your career, your weightlifting career to this point, did you always think you would be here in this moment? Like, did you think that this is something that was actually reachable?
I remember in our first nationals in Detroit, I remember watching, I think I watched Hampton Morris, which just won a bronze medal at the Olympics, actually. But he was a youth at the time.
World record holder in the clean and jerk.
And I watched him, I think, break an American record clean and jerk. And I remember I had no clue what any of qualification, how any of that worked at the time. Yeah, no. But I knew that he was on Team USA in some aspect. And I thought maybe one day I could make one team when I was 17 as a youth. But I didn't know how it worked. I didn't really have any vision of that. So I would say I thought it was possible, but I had no clue the work and the time that needed to be done.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's because you knew you were good. You didn't know how good you were. Yeah. I always knew. Like, I didn't know anything about the qualifications. I knew there were the World Championships. I knew there were the Olympics. And I knew there was something about Pan Ams. Like, I didn't really know what it was. Yeah. I can remember it, though, like, before leaving for those nationals, like I was telling everybody, I'm like, Carter's going to win a national championship. I had no reason to actually know that. I didn't even know the numbers. But I'm like, he's going to win. And everybody's like, okay. And I'm like, no, really. Like, I think he can do this. And then we won it. And then I started kind of looking at other things. And I remember telling my wife constantly, where she was probably sick of me saying it, like, hey, we got to start preparing for these next few years. And I think if we were to go back and find my old Facebook post from those times, is what I kept saying was, watch these next couple years. Like, watch these next couple years and see what he can do. And part of that also is me knowing that you were going to show up here every single day leading up to that. So it's one thing to say that, like, we knew he could do this, like, because I always did think we would be sitting in some type of position like this with you. Like, I really did. But thinking it's possible is way different than showing up and making it happen. And that goes another thing. Like, if I can get coaches and athletes to listen to that, is that, A, don't be afraid to sing the praises of someone, coaches, who you feel like can do this. Because I did it way premature. And there are probably, like, if I knew more weightlifting coaches back in that time like I do now, they would probably have thought I was silly because A, he hadn't done anything yet. B, the totals aren't there. But I just saw some. I'm like, I know this is what he's going to do. So coaches, if you have a kid like that, freaking tell the entire world about it. Like, don't be scared. Tell the entire world about it. Worst case scenario, you're wrong and who cares?
Yeah.
Best case scenario, ideally you've given that kid the confidence to give it a chance to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I say that, is because it's really important. Trust yourself, and if you're a coach, trust your athletes. If you see it, man, sing it. Right? Sing it.
I think speaking it and talking about the ideas is extremely important. Like, when I was at that camp, I remember just thinking, oh, I'm going to make worlds. I mean, it didn't actually turn out to work, but the amount of confidence that gave me, the amount of work that I put in, because I believed like I was going to do it, like that was just what's going to happen, I think is huge. And that goes even to totals. Like, what was it, 20 weeks ago when we started this, I was at like a 245, 250 total.
Yeah, 240.
And I was like, we had 280 in mind was our number. We were like 270, 280. That's what we think could get close to medaling at Worlds. But I mean, I was nowhere near that at the time. Like 20 kilos, maybe even 30 kilos in.
Which, if you don't, in weightlifting, 20 or 30 kilo jump in a year, even for youth, is big.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Yeah.
And you've done it year after year after year. However, when you get to be 17, your body starts filling out this, you get closer to that ceiling of strength and that ceiling of ability. Like, those harder. Kilos come fewer and farther between.
Yeah, definitely.
So we looked at that and we're like, we need a 280. That was our goal.
Yeah.
Like 280 or bust. We need a 280. Historically, that gets us on the podium. There's years that wins it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a year that won it.
Yeah.
And we're like, we got 30 kilos to go.
Yeah. And I think when I spoke it, I thought it could be possible, but I didn't really know. But talking about it it gives you the idea that it's possible, and it gives you something to push for. And I think I had those numbers in mind. I had the numbers I wanted in mind. I wrote it down. And in these last 4 weeks, I've hit a 271. And 3 months ago, that seemed impossible, literally impossible. And so I think speaking it and talking about it is extremely important.
Yeah, and that's huge, because it is something we do talk about our goals quite a bit, whether they're the goals that week, the goals that month, the goals that year, whatever it be is.
Yeah, numbers.
And not really, and we don't do it. If you know us or know me, like, we're not going to do it in an annoyingly positive way.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to talk about it. I'm probably going to make fun of you about it, but it is going to be in there in the forefront at all times.
Yeah.
And I think that, if, again, speaking to athletes and coaches, is goal setting is important, right?
Very important.
Because if we were just going into this saying, "Hey, man, we're going to Worlds. Let's be happy. Let's just do good."
I don't think I would be near where I'm at.
That's not what we said, though. We're going to Peru to get a medal.
Yeah.
We're not going to Peru for fun.
Yeah.
Like, we want a medal. Right? That's our whole goal, and that's been our goal this whole time. So goal setting, so important. Definitely. And talk about it daily, right? Or at least think about it daily. Yeah. Little bit more. So one of the other unique aspects of your sport is, yes, we have a club and we have a little team here. Unfortunately, being in a small town, a very sport dominant town, so a lot of the teenagers your age are playing football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, and they're not in here a lot, right? Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of your age group in here. You got Levi, who's been a godsend for you, I think, kind of just just someone to stay in the neighborhood of you and kind of help you out. But other than that, it's a bunch of little kids.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So the aspect of your actual teammates on Team USA are from all around the country, right? Yeah. So you've made friends with people that are all around the country. Tell us about that a little bit, and just, is that something you've enjoyed, and how that's different from the football team? Your friends are on the football team. You're around each other all day, every day. You see each other at school on weekends and all that stuff. How does that vary from that to weightlifting? So
talking about the training environment here, it does get hard when you don't have anybody around you to push you. I think that is like one of the biggest things in a training environment, is having people to push you constantly. So that is hard. But, being friends with these people around the country that have these same goals, I think is really important. I think it gives you someone to look at, see how they're doing. see how they're pushing. You know, they want to be in the same spots as you. They want to take it just as seriously as you. And so a lot of times you don't get that. Like, even at like higher level, like local clubs, you often don't have, a whole team of Team USA athletes, right?
So for 17U Worlds, we get 10 spots for boys and 10 spots for girls.
Yes.
This year for 17U Worlds, 5
There's
boys?
4.
4 boys made the team. So there are 10 available spots.
Yeah.
Only 4 boys in the United States of America at 17U were good enough to make this World Championships team. 10 girls made it.
Yeah.
But only 4 boys. So what he means by that is there's only 4 boys in the country that's good.
Yeah.
And they're not in the same gym together.
No. Yeah.
2 of them. No, they're juniors. Never mind.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's hard to find anyone your caliber.
Yeah.
No matter where you are.
Yeah. And so you have those people to look at, and you have to see how their training's going, and that keeps me going, keeps me pushing. But it also just, make relationships along the way, make friends with these people, talk to them. I would say I have people that I've met on these trips. I talk to them weekly about training and just all sorts of stuff. So that's important for sure.
And that's really cool too, because you also get to see some different aspects of what they're going through and what they're like, their training and how just vastly different it is, right?
Yeah.
So we just came back from the barbell games yesterday. Actually, it's our state championship in Springfield, a big event that's put on. There is a girl there that's going to World 17U, and the difference in our training, she lifted at the barbell games.
Yeah.
You didn't.
No,
right? Because we decided for us, like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
But them, for their programming and their training, she lifted. So you're able to see, like, that's one example of how vastly different all this can be. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing, like, all this from all over the country, right?
Yeah,
which is so cool to see.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about the barbell games. So Carter coached at the barbell games yesterday.
Did.
Not his first time coaching, but he coached. He got he took a couple athletes from beginning to end. Tell us about that.
It was fun. Athletes I coached did good. So 2 of them went 6 for 6, and then one of them had a little rougher day, little judging that I didn't quite agree with, but it's okay.
So Carter's generally pretty calm and laid back until he's not. And so you kind of lost it on the judges a little bit, right?
Yeah, they were making some questionable calls, I thought, but
But that shows your passion for the sport, and also shows one of the things that I've made a real point to do through the years is the kids that I train for a long time and are really interested in this and can or will become good coaches, they end up helping me train. So that's been really cool to see Carter kind of turn into the coaching end. And I also think it's helping you understand the sport better, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're fixing other problems that you may see in yourself and be able to.
It makes me look at the lifts in a completely different way, I think.
Yeah, and also it's really cool to kind of see those younger kids look up to you, and maybe at some point one of them will be sitting here and we'll talking about making a team with them as the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Ramsey's probably wanting us to wrap up since we've been talking for a while. So.
No, I just want you to talk about your Academy Award-winning performance.
Oh yeah, that didn't work. I tried to get. I think it was at Wilmington. I tried to give him like the best pep talk speech of all time that I prepared, like the only speech I've ever prepared, and it just hit. I think he was whistling through half of it. He does a stupid whistle thing that his dad and I want to murder him on. And I told Ramsey, I was like, man, I'm going to pep him up and I'm going to do so good. And then after he's like, how'd it go? I was like, it was awful. It was awful. It was awful. It didn't work. So the pressure leading up to this, and we talked about the mental aspect a little bit. How are you dealing with the pressure? Are you feeling the pressure?
Yeah.
You know what, just freestyle about that a little bit.
So, the pressure's there. It's the biggest competition I've ever been to. It's the biggest training cycle I've ever had. So the pressure's definitely there, but I think the time kind of under my belt that I've had leading up to these bigger competitions in the past has prepared me well. I think I'm handling the pressure better than I ever have for a competition, which is a good thing. I obviously let it get to me in Wilmington, and I've let it get to me at other competitions before too, but I think I'm handling it better now. It does help that training is going well. I would like to take credit for all of it, but when training goes well, it's a lot easier. So, I haven't had to deal with it as much, but the pressure's definitely there. It's a really big competition. I want to do well, obviously, but I'm here. It's the ultimate goal, and I think in my mind, I've put in the work now, and I've put in the time, and I think I'm ready.
Because our work's basically done,
Our
right?
work's
You
pretty
got a
much done,
session today, and you got one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not much. just
Yeah.
kind of feeling good, feeling the lift, feeling them off the ground. But essentially, we're done.
Yeah.
The work's done. Like those 23 weeks of hell
Yeah.
are over. There was one day through this prep where I think I had warned you the week before, like, hey, this next little block is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Like it's heavy. And I remember you got like halfway through the clean and jerk day after a heavy snatch day and you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can. Like you like, I can't do this. And like, we have to. And I think we took a little bit off the table that day because in those moments I like to over program a little bit. But you felt it right then. Like you felt the pressure, you felt the weight of the barbell, you felt just your body wearing down more or less, right? So one of the last things I want to talk about is how you take care of your body.
Yeah.
Because my goal for you, and I think through Wilmington, we talked about this a little bit. What I told you was, because I pulled back in training, I did pull back in your training a little bit at the end of that because everything was going wrong. And you didn't want to pull back at that time. I thought we had to. But what I told you at that time is like, my goal for you isn't to be just a really good 15-year-old, 16-year-old weightlifter. Like, I want you doing this through your life.
Yeah.
How are you handling your body to also reach that goal of, I may not be competitively weightlifting when I'm 35 years old, but I do probably want to be doing some weightlifting still when I'm 35 years old.
I think you do have to train smart. I've came in and there's days where something doesn't feel right, something's tweaked, and I'll back off for the day. I'm getting better at that. I have.
You are.
In the past, I've struggled. I'll feel a little tweak, and I'll just keep pushing. I just want to hit heavy lifts. But I'm getting, the more I've lifted, the more I've kind of understood that it's not, today, what I do in training this day is not going to make or break 20 kilos in my total at the World Championships. It's not that important in one day. And so I think feeling your body out and every day in training, it kind of makes a big difference. And that really comes with time. I think it's harder to do when you're a younger lifter and you don't have as much experience. You just don't know your body as well. I feel like I've got to know my body a lot more in these past couple of years that I've been doing this, but you kind of understand your limits, where you can push, where you need to back off, and
Because your training is hard.
Yeah.
But I think it's both harder than people probably think because they don't understand, but I also think it's probably not what people think it is, because we do have those times where we pull back, even if it's in the middle of a prep or something. How does food affect, so if you could talk, if you had a room full of 13-year-old kids right now, and they were like, hey, I don't like to eat.
Yeah.
How important is the food and how much do you put into what you put in your body?
Yeah.
Also, along with that, just so everyone knows, I've had this question a few times, like, what's he on? He's been tested 3 times by USADA, right? So we have to be overly cautious of every single thing he puts in his body because they can show up here or anywhere at any given time, right? So at any given time, any given moment, he gets drug tested. So what he puts in his body, we have to know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that, food, supplements, and kind of how you approach that.
Yeah. So food's extremely important, right? You have to eat. You simply have to. Your body can't recover. It can't build muscle. You have to eat. You have to prioritize protein. You have to eat good, right? I've made the mistake, I think, in my weightlifting career a couple times of holding my body back a little too long. I think you would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Where we saw, especially in Wilmington, I think was the biggest example of it. We saw the weight class, the totals were lower at the weight class I was in. And so we decided we were going to stay down. We weren't going to go up. I think that was a big mistake. I think for younger weightlifters, go up the weight class. I think it's almost always going to pay out and it's always going to be worth it. You need to eat.
And we learned that lesson later because you made the mistake, but then with Levi, the next year, Levi qualified for Pan Am's at 55 kilos. He could have had that spot. And we were like, it's just not worth it.
No.
Like, we can't keep you there for this long. And Levi forfeited his spot on Team USA to travel the Pan Am Championships to have a chance these next few years.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson we learned from you.
Yeah.
That was a mistake and we fixed it.
Yeah. I think that'll pay off big. It's so hard on younger bodies to hold themselves down like that. It can be so detrimental to your training. Mentally, you're not seeing progress. You're not getting to eat what you want. It's really, really hard. And then on the supplement side of things, I have to watch extremely, extremely close. I was actually just at the grocery store getting some like melatonin and stuff last night. I was reading the ingredients, and you search it up. USADA has like a thing on their website where you can kind of look at different supplements and what they are. But I honestly don't take hardly any supplements. I take
a lot
creatine.
You go down to the 24 gym, and a lot of those teenagers down there working out, they have a bag full of supplements, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have everything imaginable. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The supplement industry has run wild lately. What supplements do you take?
I'm really just on creatine. Creatine, protein.
Creatine, protein, caffeine.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of caffeine.
So literally creatine, protein, caffeine, and some melatonin to sleep at night to help you sleep.
Every once in a while.
So that's, I think that, again, kids, athletes, coaches. He jerked 375 pounds 2 weeks ago, right? He weighs 160 to 165 pounds. All he's on is creatine, whey protein, and some caffeine to get through his sessions.
Yeah.
You don't need any more. You shouldn't be taking any more.
It's
all the other junk. And he's
necessary.
not taking he's not taking 600 milligrams of caffeine. He's drinking a Ghost that has 200 milligrams of caffeine as he's getting ready for a session, right?
Yeah.
Just a little pick me up. Equivalent of a big cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So kids, again, you don't need to be on all that crap. Get off it. Eat food. Take your creatine. Take your protein. Right.
Definitely. It's not really necessary in the scheme of things.
And then rest.
It's huge. So I actually, like 12 weeks ago, I made a commitment to myself. I was gonna, in this prep for Worlds, I was gonna get 8 hours of sleep every night. And I cannot like state enough how much that has benefited my training. I think you would agree, these last 12 weeks have been huge. I put on a ton.
I think this is our best prep.
Yeah.
We've had some good preps, but overall, I think this is our best one.
Yeah. Sleep, I think it's the most important thing for your recovery. Eating and sleep, I think, are the two number one things. If you're going to hammer down something, eating and sleep.
So you're not staying
huge.
up till 2 a.m. playing video
No.
games. And there's times in your life that you're going to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
But not right now.
It's really important right now.
So if you're
Sleep
in the
every
middle of your football season and you're staying up till midnight, 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning playing video games, even if it's on a Tuesday night and you don't play till Friday.
Yeah.
That's not going to work, right? It's not ideal.
I think in our sport, weightlifting, I think that's a big difference too, is you directly see the results of your like choices and actions in your training, right? So if I stay up and I sleep 4 hours one night, I'm going to come in and I'm not going to have a good day. Like the weights, they're not going to move. It's just not possible. You can't recover. And so I think in football practice, you may not see that, right? You're just going through drills. So kids, they're not prioritizing it because they don't see the direct impact. But I think if you really want to move to that next level, you have to start prioritizing that recovery. Eating, sleeping is so important.
Favorite weightlifting memory up until this point?
Favorite weightlifting memory? I would say the Arnold after Wilmington.
Ooh,
probably my
yeah,
favorite
boy,
one.
how awesome was that?
Yeah. So
We were
after
qualifying for Pan Am's was our goal, right?
Yeah. And so we kind of talked about it. Coming out of Wilmington was really, really rough. I didn't see a point. But I think it was 6 to 8 weeks,
It was short.
We had to push for the Arnolds, and I think I needed to put around 20-ish kilos on my total.
A lot.
Yeah, but I got to move up a weight class, so I was finally eating for the first time in a while, feeling good, and we went all at it in training, and I trained really hard. It was a great prep. Everything went perfect, honestly.
Up until this prep, that's the most aggressive I've ever and I've been programming workouts and strength and conditioning workouts for 20 years.
Yeah.
I was frightened how aggressively I programmed that.
And you can there's times for that, right? And
yes,
you would agree on that. We could do that because 1, we were moving up a weight class. 2, I think I was more motivated than I had ever been. And so you knew I was going to attack training kind of differently than I had in the past. And so I think all those factors kind of played into that competition. And I came back. I needed total 234 was the number, which was it was just a little over 20 kilos on what I was at in Wilmington. And I had to actually beat out another athlete to make the team because there was
lifted against forever.
And
it was great.
Yeah, I didn't going into it. Honestly, my mental kind of state at that time was probably the best it's ever been. Honestly, I knew that I could have the best day of my life, and I could still not make this team realistically,
or not even win the
or
competition.
not even win the competition. And so I just knew that there was pressure, but honestly, I just knew in my head that I'm just going to go out there. I'm just going to lift as good as I can. And the result is just going to be what it is.
And we snatched 100.
Snatched 100.
He snatched 102, right?
Yeah.
Roy snatched 102.
He definitely beat me in snatch by a little bit. I don't remember how much.
I'm pretty sure it was either 101 or 102. So then we went into clean and jerk needing 134 kilos.
Yeah. And that was a 4 kilo. I had hit 130. So that would be a 4 kilo
In
PR.
training?
Yeah.
But not in competition.
No. And so so you missed 4 kilos doesn't seem like that much, but I had just hit 130, which was a 5 kilo PR. And then like 2 weeks before that, I had just hit 125.
Yeah.
So in the span of about a month, I had put on 10 kilos to my clean and jerk. And so that's 14 kilos from what I was really at, like just 3 or 4 weeks before the competition.
It was essentially a 14 kilo PR.
Over a 14 kilo PR in competition. And so, I mean, that was huge. And we made the first two, 125, 130, and then set us up for a big chance of 134. And I went out and made it.
There we go, Ramsey.
You think I went all right?